Well, I think we're going to make sure the American people understand what's in this bill. It is completely incoherent. The Republicans can't agree on what they're trying to do with it. And the cuts to Medicaid are going to be devastating to rural America and to rural Colorado. I've spent a ton of time listening to healthcare providers in red parts of the state that voted for Donald Trump that are not engaged in waste, fraud, and abuse. They're engaged in trying to deliver health care on a shoestring as it is. You know, no OB services, none of the things that anybody in the industrialized world expects to have out of their healthcare system as it is. And now Trump and his allies are going to cut Medicaid, and it's going to drive a lot of these providers out of business. It's going to make it impossible for people that live a very long way from Denver to be able to get health care for their kids. And I hope we are able to stop it. But if we can't, if the 53 Republicans in the Senate insist on ramming it through, the American people are going to know who owns this piece of legislation.
So you just heard Speaker Johnson say that, I cited the CBO figure, that 8 million people are going to be affected by these cuts to Medicaid. And he said those are just the 8 million who should not be on Medicaid. He said it's more than 1 million people who are undocumented immigrants. He said it's able-bodied males who could be working but are not. You say that that's not true, huh?
It's not true. Look, before I was in the Senate, I was a school superintendent. Most of the kids were kids living in poverty. Their parents were working 2 and 3 jobs. The issue is not that they weren't working. It's that even though they were working, they couldn't get their kids out of poverty because our economy hasn't been working well enough for working people and for the middle class. The same is true in the rural communities that I was just talking about that are being served by those hospitals. And by the way, it's not just about Medicaid. I had a conversation the other day just last week with a woman who's graduated from Western in Gunnison, Colorado, who said, I'm going to be off my parents' health insurance in a year. Is it really true that I'm going to have 2 or 3 jobs just for the privilege of paying for health insurance? That is crazy, Jake. Mm-hmm. And that is the healthcare system that America has today that Trump is going to make worse. Democrats should be figuring out not just how to stop these cuts, but to give the American people a vision for what a modern healthcare system that looks like the rest of the industrialized world would look like for the American people. Because these decisions that we're going to make really do, in the end, it's not about the rhetoric of Speaker Johnson. It's about how it's going to affect people in their daily lives. And I'm sorry to say this bill is going to affect them in a major way.